Man, they they got done quicker than I thought. So I'm about to take off from the dealership. Just got the oil changed, and let me go ahead and finish my thought on what I was saying. Uh, just like I said, I just finished watching the Clarissa Shields, Clarissa Shields, Christina Hammer, All Access, and I thought it was pretty dope. I like the way they are pushing this fight. But what I was saying was Clarissa Shields was talking that beast talk, and my only thing is I don't want her to get over confident. I don't want her to take Christina Hammer lightly, which it wouldn't make sense of a fighter of Clarissa Shields' caliber to overlook an opponent, especially what a lot of consider and what she should be considering to be her biggest opponent that she's fought. But she's talking a little reckless as far as saying that Christina Hammer is going to be. She said she was, what was the word she used? It wasn't pathetic, but it was close to saying she was pathetic. She was saying all she has is a jab, and you know, I think Christina Hammer has a little bit more than just a jab, even if you base it on her footwork alone. You know, um, I just don't want Clarissa to be hanging around and getting that same kind of overconfident that some of these younger men in boxing have, like Adrian Broner, you know, um, or even no slight towards like that whole little crew of the young and upcoming boxers. A lot of them just, you will see their career going to be short as far as, they're going to eat some humble pie. You know, um, they're going to take some L's. So I don't want her to put herself in that crowd of um, where you turning your career is based off a lot of talk that you do outside of the ring. I don't want you to fall victim to that being overhyped. When you hype yourself up, you believe in your own hype, and you start looking at opponents and overlooking them and taking them too lightly, and not saying that you don't train hard enough, but you just mentally aren't prepared because you feel like there's no way you can lose. I feel like a true champion doesn't lose because they looked at it, like if you've seen the Avengers Infinity Wars, when Doctor Strange was in his meditation mode, he looked at millions and millions of ways of outcomes and found the one way they could win, possibly out of millions of ways they could lose. I feel like a true champion looks at every fight, or looks at his fight from every single possible angle, and he does consider he does consider what way he might lose so that he can adapt and be able to change whatever he has to change so that he can change the outcome of the fight from a loss to a victory. But I'm not accusing Clarissa Shields of overlooking her opponent. I don't think that she is, but just based off of the all access, it was a little bit of, I seen a little bit of where she was just talking a little bit too much trash talk. And I mean, I ain't knocking it. I ain't mad at it. I don't want her to take on like the villain role, and I don't want her to take on the, you know, the bully role. And and she is a beast. You know what I'm saying? And that's her natural um persona. That's her natural thought, and if that's the way she thinks, and she can go in that fight and she can dominate the way she um projects her confidence to be, where I can go in there and just dominate this person. If she goes in there and she backs that up, then that's just more power to her. But I would hate to see for her to go in there overhyped up, and you start seeing, as the rounds progress, you start seeing her confidence start to drop down, and you start seeing her open her eyes up and say, man, I didn't totally look at this fight from every single angle, and I didn't see this one happening, and now I'm trying to fight from a deficit. And I hate to see well, I don't hate to see it, but I would hate to see it from her if she had to put herself in a predicament where she just you know she loses out on her opportunity because she is um, overhyped in her mind. Christina Hammer looks humble. It don't look like an act to me. She looks like a humble person, but she looked like when she was in her training mode, based off the All Access, when she was in her training mode, she looked like she was about her business as far as training hard. And Clarissa Shields looked like she was training hard too. Any boxer, especially from my eyes, they train hard. So I'm not taking that away from anybody. But it didn't look like Christina Hammer was slacking off and partying, or relaxing, or taking a fight for. I don't know. I don't know about all the behind the scenes, the sickness and the illness and what she might be going. I don't know about all that. I just base it off of what I seen in her All Access. And to me, the way she trains, I like the way she trains. No, I don't think she's the most powerful puncher. But I do think she has a different kind of power, just based on her balance and based on her foot speed. But you know, I, I don't question her heart. I don't question her willpower to want to win. I think she's coming to fight. I think they're both coming to fight. I just made my final prediction, and I have to stand on that. So, but it was a good All Access. Everybody should check it out. Everybody should check out the fight. Like I said, my final prediction was a draw with a slight edge towards Christina Hammer. But like I said, I'm voting, I'm pulling for Claressa Shields. I like her as a fighter, and I hope her potential is completely, you know, uh, I hope she fights and does her whole career to her full potential. For a decade from now, you have the younger generation still talking about T-Rex Claressa Shields. One more thing that I wanted to talk about while it was on my mind and while I have y'all time was this whole uh, glass ceiling on female boxing, maybe female fighting in general, MMA, which I don't think is the same. I think MMA female fighters have more potential than female boxers. You know what I'm saying? For some reason, it's just to me a little bit more of an attractive sport to watch female MMA for a lot of reasons. But anyways, female boxing is still a little bit less attractive for reasons that I'm not going to draw out this whole video trying to explain. But and it's just one of those things, some people I've heard compare the female boxing to like WNBA, where it will never have the same. And let me brush, because like I said, I'm looking real rusty from coming from the barbershop, and I'm dry, and I need to go home and oil up and moisturize up. But anyway, they compare. I hate when I put my hand like that. They compare the WNBA to women's boxing, and I can see that comparison. My thoughts on that: why does female boxing have like a glass ceiling on it? To make this real short, and I might elaborate it on another video in the future, because I really want to expound and unpack my whole thought on why I feel like women's boxing has a glass ceiling, and I also want to do a comparison to women's boxing to women's MMA. But I feel like one main thing is, if you separate women's boxing from men's boxing, you got to understand that men boxing has a glass ceiling on it too. That you have a few, like a Mayweather, a De La Hoya, they break through and they change the game. But there's a lot of men boxing that don't have their careers or the exposure or the pay that they expect to have. So if men boxing has a glass ceiling that you have to break through, then if you separate that and you have a women's boxing, of course they're going to have a glass ceiling too. And one remedy to that is, if you're the baddest woman, like, no shade towards Claressa Shields, I just want to use her as an example, similar to like a Serena Williams. If you're the baddest woman and you think you're good enough to take on the men, then maybe you should be fighting with the men. What do you think about that? What do you think about if you integrated women into men's sport? Like, say if you were to blend the WNBA with the NBA, then how would that look? You know what I'm saying? How would it look if you had females and men competing in the same sport at the same level? Y'all leave me y'all comments on that. Let's discuss that. Let's chop that up. Let's chop it up. What would Claressa Shields do in the men's boxing world? You know what I'm saying? What would Christina Hammer do in the men's boxing world? Maybe if you could kind of find some kind of a weight or another way to match them up, just different than just weight. Maybe if you had a woman that was weighing 150, maybe have her fighting men that were weighing, 140 or 142 or 130 to try to even it up a little bit. I don't know. Y'all leave me y'all thoughts on that. But I just feel like a woman can never expect to be equal to a man if she's not thrown in the same pool. If they're trying to have a separate sport and have it based off of your sex, your gender, should I say, if it's based off your gender, and you're saying this is a woman's sport, then I feel like naturally it should be naturally it would be a lesser sport than the man's sport, if the men's sport has already been established and they also already have a glass ceiling. They also already have boundaries that they try to, and over the decades they might be able to overcome over decades. But if you take the women and you start something new, then have they even paid their dues? You know what I'm saying? And I get what Claressa Shields is saying in comparison to like a Lomachenko or something like that. But there you go. How much does Lomachenko weigh? Like 130 something? 135? I don't know. He's a little guy. But if she thinks she should be getting the same accolades and the same exposure and the same money as a Lomachenko, then maybe they should do some kind of a don't call out. And I'm not throwing no shade at her. I'm just using this as an example. But why are we talking about Claressa Shields versus Amanda Nunes? Where's the money in that? Versus, okay, how about we do Claressa Shields versus Lomachenko? Why can't we make that fight happen? Now, I kind of got a feeling that most people, if they left a comment, they would already say what they would say about that fight and why they don't want to see Lomachenko fight Claressa Shields. I believe most people would just feel like Lomachenko would completely dominate and embarrass Claressa Shields. I can't say I feel that way, but at the end of the day, using that as an example, if you feel like you should get the same kind of exposure and the same kind of pay and equal pay as Lomachenko, then you should be fighting Lomachenko. You know, Christina Hammer could be fighting Lomachenko, or you take the best woman, you put her in there with the best man, see what happens. I don't feel like that's ever going to happen, but I feel like as long as that's not happening, there's going to be a glass ceiling on the sport. There's going to be a glass ceiling on both sports, but the glass ceiling is going to be set a little bit lower on the female sport because female sports, I feel like, don't have the same draw as men's sports. I just feel like men overall, when you get to the elite level, are going to be more athletic, more explosive, and more entertaining, and they will have their they will have their fan base that's cemented, and women will keep working hard and they will build their fan base, but it's always going to be to a lesser degree as men. And you will have an anomaly every once in a while. You will have your exceptions, like I believe T-Rex Clarissa Shields is the potential exception to come and elevate herself past the boundaries of female sport boxing, and she'll be able to be bigger than that. Like a Ronda Rousey was almost bigger. If she wouldn't have jacked that off and messed it up, Ronda Rousey was going to be bigger than men's boxing in given time, and she messed that up. But Clarissa Shield has the potential, at least, to get shot up there with the legends. You know what I'm saying? If she don't mess it up. So, anyways, y'all leave y'all comments. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about the men versus the women. Y'all let me know about how y'all feel about the so-called glass ceiling on the women's boxing, and let me know if you're interested in the MMA conversation, the female MMA, the women's boxing, and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Give me some feedback, and let's chop it up and unpack this whole thing. Just looking forward to more comment. Looking forward to more dialogue or dialect and interaction with you guys. Until then, like I said, I got to get home, moisturize, get myself looking decent, and I got one more video to shoot with 360 waves. But other than that, I'm out. I appreciate y'all for checking in. This is Nocturnal Thoughts. Peace. Together we stand. Divided goes down.